people would be hired and then,
Yeah.
that's.
It was that, and so it's like they dinner and everything was so fun.
Hired that service, they were meant for their first grant.
Yeah.
We had so many people, like the last year I was there. It's just like,
Sounded like,
and with that, it's like, well, it's the person that was hired.
Oh, it just must have been some of
Is
the
it-
stuff she
Probably assume it was-
That could be.
Well, I think.
At her hair. Did you ever see
To
them?
get people here, none of those do it.
yeah, so.
Patient, there, they're like,
It was actually,
"Oh, this is not what I was hired to do exactly. For sure, like, okay, you have to work rotating Sunday. Oh, you get extra dollars. Yeah, and you give up the Sunday. Like, some without negotiation.
he's there now.
I mean, I think the expectation. Next.
Oh, that's funny. I just got. And I think.
Did you really?
I just did the event. Look, I'm like, oh, thank God I saw this.
I think I got it around two.
This is
I turned my phone off.
added to the file. It's like, it says
I
11.
don't see it.
Yeah, the other thing that was replying.
And then what was the one thing you said we still have? to
Everybody-
check out?
Setbacks.
Setback.
They it's like,
They were going to zone.
oh, I just know they're going to fire me. I just know they don't.
Corner. Next to the line.
Everybody-
Right over the-
kind of like-
Yeah, they were gonna request
Like. Carol, they-
a 30-foot setback and 60. That's what's in our purview to do that. So
Okay.
this is the letter.
They use like.
We got the new lights trick,
So like.
but they do. I like to send it to our emails this time instead of get to this tablet. Yeah.
Can we take that?
Well, this came through. This was in the packet, I think. I just printed it out. Yeah, you've got it.
Okay, so it's just.
Yeah, it was in the
Yeah.
file.
So. Nothing separate.
So we could.
Aaron's going to get started on the project soon. That's nice.
Single
Right on.
packaging. Here we go.
And a version.
Like when you go to get a sample, I drop, whatever.
How are you, Luke? No. Good, thank you.
Yes.
Different.
Oh, we're good.
You know, a niche.
Okay.
Do they do like?
Pass the
they have
Greenwich.
like, you know,
Reverend Jim.
their
Reverend Jim.
sample
Take it away.
things.
All right, welcome everybody to this workshop meeting of the Town of Henrietta Planning Board on Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. Members present, Matt Borkowski, Patricia Brill, Craig Eckert, Walter Liss, Marcy Reynolds, and Billy Safranek. Town staff present, Chris Martin, Director of Planning and Engineering, Luke Bushin, Deputy Director, Engineering and Planning, and Planning Board Attorney, Donald Young. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll invite everybody to stand and join the board.
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to take a quick moment and thank Mr. Borkowski for his leadership last month. I appreciate you filling in there. And we'll move on to the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 meeting. I think we all had a chance to look at those. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding those minutes? If not, the chair will make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2025 meeting. Can I get a,
One second.
Mrs. Brill, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Depending on the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We've got approved minutes to 7 of us, right? Okay. All right. Move on to our applications this evening. Just one, application number 25-004, Fair Avenue Apartments. This is for final site plan approval of a 4-story, 87-unit apartment building on approximately 4.03 acres located at what will be known as 105 Fair Avenue in a commercial B1 zoned district with a mixed-use redevelopment corridor overlay district. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much for submitting your comments or your responses to many of the comments that we had. That will speed things up and it makes our job a lot easier. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Joshua Saxton. I'm a civil engineer at Pastor Associates. With me is Michael Spalletta. He is the client on the project. I guess before getting into this site, just giving a little history on the parcel. Back in 2020, 2019, this actually went through a board approval process for a hotel. Obviously, COVID hit that year, 2020, so a lot of development stopped. It's kind of gone through some iterations that actually came back as a different hotel a couple of years back. But after kind of analyzing the parcel market studies, the hotel wasn't a great fit kind of in this area. And that's kind of where we're at now, is with a more residential approach, which we believe is a better use of the parcel given the surrounding area. So as stated, it's a 87-unit, 4-story apartment building. We already went to the town board for the approvals of the multi-use overlay district and the building height. We went in with the building height of 60 because that's what the hotels were approved at back in the day. There was some agreements that, 15-foot floor-to-floor heights on an apartment building are pretty big. So we cut that down to a 52 is what we got approved at. And actually the building right now is around 48, 49 feet. So we're actually less than what we got approved for. So just kind of less impact on the surrounding area for that building height than what maybe the previous hotel would have supplied. Kind of as you're seeing here, this is the layout we have. It's an L-shaped building that kind of mimics the intersection of Fair Ave and Minerva Campbell Way. We have the parking kind of along the outside, kind of a very typical layout for an apartment. In the rear area, we have some additional parking and then some garage spaces. Some of these garage spaces, they do get rented out a lot. Sometimes they get used as storage. I see a lot of people use them for that, but they're obviously there for parking as well. Kind of have a triangulated outdoor amenity space. It's barren now, but we're still deciding on what we want to see in the outdoor space there that the tenants are going to use. For some other site features, we have our dumpster pad kind of located in the back there. Obviously know that dumpster pads want to be, as far away from the roads as possible. And we kind of tucked it in this corner, shielded from the building. In theory, you probably won't even see it from most of the roads. Even driving by, they'll be shielded by the garages, and then some vegetation to the north and to the west as well. As far as other site features, we do show some connections to existing sidewalks. Obviously, there's some existing sidewalk features on Fair Ave and Minerva Campbell Way. So we have proposed crosswalks. I know that was a comment to maybe continue the concrete, which we can discuss. And then also we have a crosswalk going across to the sidewalk that eventually leads to the library that's directly north of this parcel. One benefit of already having kind of developed this parcel, we already know where a lot of utilities are. Water, sanitary are all in the right of way that we're connecting to. Stormwater on site as well. A very similar approach to what we did for the hotel projects, kind of sticking the stormwater management areas along the west and southern portion of the building. Similar to those developments, it's a combination of bioretention areas to meet stormwater treatment, and then a deep pool to handle the actual quantity of the stormwater on site. Eventually that all drains to the south and to the west towards the existing tributary on site. You can kind of see that hatched area with the dashed line is the floodplain on site, so we're not proposing to impede on that at all. Obviously, it's a big point, especially right next to a tributary. We obviously want to avoid any impact to that as well. And then as far as other portions of the site, we have a landscaping plan that went through review from the Conservation Board that, that was received well. We have kind of this vegetated frontage landscape area that will hopefully, obviously when the trees bloom and get to full vegetation, a nice shield from the roads, and then also internal shrubs, grasses to really kind of make the internal pop as well. There were some Conservation Board comments on switching some species out, which we will adhere to based on their comments. As you stated, we did get comments from engineering staff and fire marshal and some other town staff. Went through those comments, supplied responses. No real, deal breakers. I guess the only two that I would kind of want to bring up, one is the setbacks. I know there's been some discussions in these overlay districts. It gets a little interesting with underlying zoning and the overlay and what setbacks are what. And it was kind of identified that the rear portion where the parking and some of those garages are would be in a 60-foot setback. So as a part of the town code, you can actually reduce that with planning board approval. So that's something we are requesting, to reduce that 60-foot rear to a 30-foot, just so that the garages in that area aren't impacted by that rear setback. And we think that's a normal ask. There isn't anything other than the tributary and some vegetation to the rear. So pushing that in isn't going to really affect anything environmentally for the site. The other comment I want to bring up was the traffic, obviously outside the scope of this, the traffic of the area. When this was going through a hotel process, a traffic study was conducted for this area, found that Hawkins Road and Fair Ave needed a light as well as left turn lanes. It's because a lot of people taking lefts into there or getting queued up, and then also people trying to leave Fair Ave, obviously getting stuck there. It's a busy corridor with a lot of lights. So that's something we are pursuing back with the DOT to install those mitigation efforts, obviously with a project of this size, not only with the existing traffic, but also future traffic that this would generate. Obviously, it's still going to warrant a light there in a turn lane. Benefit is we pretty much have the plans already all approved. We're working through an agreement with Wegmans because a portion of the mast arm would be on their property in the corner. So there's been a lot of back and forth with them to get that coordinated.
Excuse me, Josh, I'm sorry. What is on their property?
The mast arm of the traffic,
Oh.
yeah. So basically what the L-shaped mast arm that holds the traffic lights.
Yep.
Just where it's located.
Gotcha.
In that it'll be in the southeastern corner there. It's on their property, so that's kind of a negotiation and talk with them to get that approved. But as far as, the design, the layout and everything, it's already been, vetted through Monroe County DOT. I think probably just one more just to get a refresher, make sure everyone's good with it. I know there's been some staff change there, so just making sure everyone's on track with that and moving that forward. So I know that's was a what if or a portion of this project on what the status of that was. So just wanted to give an update on that in case anyone has had questions on that. Yeah, and then it was very late today, supplied some elevations of the building. I guess it's a typical kind of apartment building that you would see with some unique features. You can kind of see on on that one, in the bottom elevation view, in the left area, there's kind of that larger brick with the windows. That's kind of a fully devoted amenity space right now internally. Right now it's an indoor basketball court for the residents to use. I know one of the things with the beauty of this site is it's surrounded by a lot of infrastructure and buildings that you can go to. Obviously, you could have maybe a 1/10 of a mile walk to the rec center, and they have basketball hoops there. Obviously, you have the town park around, so kind of figuring out what this amenity space is. We're still working on, but for now it's a indoor basketball area that they can use. But it's still being worked out, but it's, mainly used to, attract, a clientele that, you have all these amenity spaces in the apartment as well as the outdoor area, the surrounding area of the library. Wegmans right across the street, it is really lucrative and sought after area to be. Obviously to the north, there's a bunch of single family homes, and they enjoy that as well. And that's kind of the intent of the tenants here will also get the bounty of this area. So
your target market would be young couples, singles, over 55. I mean, what demographic are you really shooting for, do you think?
I don't know if you can speak to that, Michael.
Hi, my name is Mike Spoletta.
I'm like,
Hi. So we have not done a demographic study yet, and we have not gotten that far, but we're finding that there's a lot of young RIT, a lot of young RIT students and U of R and med students that have been occupying our project in the back. And that's why, hence the basketball court, and it's more of a multi-use facility there. We're trying to figure out whether we can put a pickleball court inside and things like that. But we think we'll have a combination of, graduate students, retirees. We think, we've been talking about it quite a bit. That's why we wanted the building to have a little different vibe than the back project. And to stand on its own, it's not going to have a pool. In that triangle area, we're talking about doing possibly a fire pit, some things like that, a little bit different. This will probably have a indoor theater. We're talking about different amenities. We haven't totally pinned those down, but we're looking to be a little bit different than what's around. Hoping it attracts basically all age groups.
so similar to Apex, would you say?
You know,
That's pretty much all student housing.
No, but I know well, okay. But they're not official RIT students, because I know somebody else that lived in there that was not a student, but they're younger people, I guess, at Apex, right? So, okay, but no school buses for this project, you don't anticipate, obviously, okay.
Could be though, right?
Yes, we don't anticipate that's the majority of the clientele there, but it's not impossible that you could get a couple families in there.
Mhm.
Possible.
You don't have you don't have the ability to limit if a family wants to rent a 3-bedroom
Yeah,
apartment.
you can't stop.
You can't prevent them from.
Okay, very good. I'll open it up to the board at this point. We will talk about the setback in a little bit, but Chair will recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for coming in. Good presentation. I looked through the comments or the plans pretty diligently. I think one of my comments were already answered, but let's just go through. I was looking at also about continuing on the north side there, Lucas, if you want to go to that. The crosswalk that's existing on the north side, I was thinking about asking to have that brought down onto the site, but from what I understand, the only entrances are east and west from the elevations. There is no entrance on the north side.
The main entrance will be along that eastern side there.
Okay.
But
just trying to find a quicker route from somebody that wants to go right across either to the
Yeah.
rec center or the library. That crosswalk is right there.
mhm,
But so they're either going around or, to the west and then up, but then they won't go east if they're going to the rec center. So I'm
mhm.
wondering. But if you bring it across down the middle, there's nothing there to
Yeah,
enter to anyway. And
yeah,
plus that kind of changes some of your parking spots,
yeah, and
which I think you need, right?
yeah, we're actually in for a variance application.
Yeah, okay. So I don't want to diminish more of your parking by requesting that when it doesn't go to anything.
Yeah,
I was trying to think of a better pedestrian access to the north.
yeah.
Okay, so that was one of my comments with that. Some of the other ones here were from existing, on the existing conditions, it's showing a light pole to be removed. That's not there.
Okay,
That there was supposed to be a light pole in sequence every 130 feet down Minerva Campbell. But when
Okay.
this project came in previously as the hotel,
Mhm.
we pulled that off our drawing because
Okay.
the entrance was supposed to go there. I didn't think I'd put it in.
if
And
it's gonna go there.
right, it might be a junction box that needs to be moved or something. Might want to take a look at that, but there is no light pole there. We'd like one. So hopefully we can, I mean, you're gonna want to probably put one at the intersection.
Mhm.
So whether or not you want to match what's on Minerva Campbell or match what's internal to you is fine. If you want to match what's on Minerva Campbell, I can get you the cut sheet on
Oh, yeah.
that.
That'd probably be preferred just to keep the corridor the same.
Yeah.
Kind of weird having one random light that's a little
And
different than the other one.
Looking at your lighting plan, I think it's the same manufacturer. I
Okay.
mean, I think you've got a DSX1 and ours are DSX2s.
Okay,
So, I don't think it'll unfit, but you can take a look at what you want to do in that run. If you
Okay.
need the spec, I can get it to you. Okay.
okay,
So so that light doesn't need to be relocated. There isn't one. I mean, so again, I'd like one, but you'd have to get a new one.
Yep.
Okay. Concrete ramp also, it says, I thought it said on the existing to cut and replace or to install a proposed sidewalk on that north side, but that one's already there too.
okay. Yeah, I think maybe some of the just record information,
Yeah,
some of it maybe was from around the hotel and
right.
just needs to get updated
Yep.
for that.
So that's already there. And then I think I had, height of the dumpster enclosure as well, but I think that was a comment that you've addressed.
Yeah, to raising up that height,
Yeah. So I
8
think-
feet.
So going through what I've got, that looks very much like, what we had before, what we saw before, a
Yeah.
couple good couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
those are the comments that I had, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Eckert, can I ask you your opinion on the setback? Are you comfortable with the setback
Are we looking at
modification?
one or two? That's what I was also gonna see if there was a clarification. There's a setback to the rear.
Mhm.
Is there also one to the front?
I don't believe the front requires it.
Because it's a corner lot, I wasn't sure on reading through the corner lot scenario if there was something here. On the south side and the back side, I'm very comfortable with that. There's trees, there's no, there's vegetation and a swale. There's a good amount of distance between anything else. And, if I was going to use that as a, excuse or a reason to grant this, I would be comfortable in that manner. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's also from the road to the east too.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I wasn't sure because of the corner lot.
I think it's both.
Yes, but basically, just to kind of.
You want to find a microphone, I think, Chris.
And again, Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning, Kevin Wilson and I, with Don's help, kind of sat through, but it's a very unique lot. And also, with the overlay district, they have certain setback requirements as well, or allowances. So basically, along the east side of the property, which is, Fair Avenue, that's a 20-foot setback. And that's per our overlay district. Then it defers to the side and rear setback to the commercial, the underlying zoning, which is commercial B1. So basically, it's a corner lot, so along Minerva Campbell Way, we decided that was a 50-foot front setback as well. And then when you go to the east, that would be a rear setback, side setback, which would be 5 feet. The next one kind of parallels the creek. That's what we're taking as a rear setback. And that would be 60 feet, which would put the building, the garage there in the setback requirement. So again, this board can, because there's no loading or unloading, go to 30 feet. And then the last one we have is the most southern line that connects back to Fair Avenue. We took that as a side. So that would be a side setback. So again, no variance, 5 feet. So again, as a side setback, there's no variance required for those garages there.
So we only need to grant one for the back.
Right, and
Correct.
that's what the board can do based on if there's no loading or unloading.
Okay. Right.
Can you clarify rear is 60 feet or 30 feet?
So it's 60 feet is required. However, the planning board does have the ability to grant a lesser variance, no less than 30.
No.
So it could be 40, it could be 45, but I think
I think in the mixed use district it can go, there isn't, I'm not sure there's even a
So
limitation.
that's the weird part of it too, is this board does have their ability to grant pretty much any setback variances based on the overlay corridor district. So again, but we kind of felt that the commercial view one to follow that would be the best thing to go.
But that was, wasn't that in conflict with the town board's special use permit?
No.
But then I saw a comment on that from Don in the resolution that it still had to meet. That the special use permit stated that it had to meet all zoning.
It does, and the zoning would be, go back to the zoning code, and this is meeting the zoning code requirement.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a little complicated, Craig, but basically, we're following what the top code is.
Okay. Yeah, so the setback on what would be the southern portion, what's not as a side, with the ones parallel to the creek, I'm on board
You're
with.
good at 30. Which is
Okay.
what the applicant's requesting, right? You
Yep.
like 30, yep.
I'm good at a reduction in 30 feet from 60 feet to 30 in that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eckert.
Yep, thank you.
Chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. I too am on board with that, going down to 30 feet in that area.
Very good, thank you.
Question for you guys. So I see the plans, the hard copy we have are dated May. But I thought when I was reading in preparation for tonight's meeting, and I cannot find it, so I don't know if I dreamt it. But you did mention the possibility of indoor theater, and I also saw golf simulator, but that's not on these plans, but it is for final
Mhm.
approval. So I just wanted to talk about that. You mentioned possibly an indoor theater, but I don't see golf simulator anywhere today.
Mhm.
So can anybody else tell me if they saw that? Because my husband was ready to sell our house and move in. Am I right?
Yeah, I
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I guess the internal amenity space, I don't know if that, and you guys obviously speak to that, if it's the internal to the building of what it is that impacting the site plan approval for it? I mean, if it's a basketball court or a pickleball court or what's internal, I mean, that can change, at any point, but I guess would you want something final of what is the amenity that's going in the building, or is it, because that's something that, could change a month from now if they decide to put something else in, or, I mean, it's not a huge impact to the site, I would say. If it's a basketball court or a pickleball court, it's not going to change traffic or lighting or stormwater.
Agreed. That just jumped out at me. I
Okay.
think that'd be with the popularity of
Yeah.
those around the greater Rochester area, I think that would be an awesome draw.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody else has one in any other apartment complex, do they? Yeah,
Yeah.
And we did one in Kennedy, one just.
Up to the mic again, please. Yep, thank you, Mike. That's,
We've actually just started putting golf simulators in, and we are putting one in this facility also, because the apartments behind us not have one.
okay.
So Penfield just got finished up at 250 in Atlantic, which is Bob Morgan's project. I'm building it for him. I'm not an owner. And we did one in Canandaigua. That we finished the project about a year ago. And they're actually very nice. We actually have a bowling alley in those also.
really, that would just be for tenants of the building, right?
Yes,
Yes, okay,
yes.
Very cool.
interesting.
We're actually talking about that here, but we're trying to figure out with the common area space what we can fit in. We're gonna put in as much as we possibly
What
can.
is currently called the amenity area.
Yes,
Got you. Yeah, and I went through all the files and I can't find the plans that I saw that had that drawn on there. So I don't know if they were removed. Do you see that? No.
You need to have better dreams.
Geez, I thought that was pretty darn good. The only thing missing, I guess, is an indoor heated pool and spa, and everything else was answered that I had. So thank you for doing that. That is always helpful. And I appreciate your time. It's actually the layout of the apartments, are beautiful. I'm not familiar with the interior of recent apartments until the last few months because my daughter moved into an apartment complex. So I'm familiar with them more than I was, and the layout of these are awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill.
Thank you.
Chair just wants to acknowledge Councilman Barley with us this evening. Good to see you. No worries. Chair will recognize Mr. Borkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Um, once again, we always love when you have the comprehensive answers on these, so thank you for that. It saves us a lot of time and a lot of questions. One thing, we're looking at these plans and number 9 on general, I think we're lining up the driveway between, across from the library. But on these, they're not aligned.
Yeah, that's
So you have updated them, we're just not looking.
yeah, just not looking at the latest and greatest. The responses are for what we're gonna do. Obviously, in the next submission, we'll have that. So yeah, that'll just shift
Right.
west, so it's obviously aligned with the drive there.
And what's the timeline on getting the line, the light at that intersection you were mentioning?
Like I said, we just got to go through those last couple of hurdles. I think the one item on that is the lead times on mass storms and lights. I'm doing a project in downtown Rochester now, and it's 9 months to a year just to get a light. So it's one of those, we have the road ready, it's all great, and then there's just the stubs for putting in the poles, because by the time, this gets approved, obviously there'd be probably some sequencing of that if, and kind of when it gets installed, if it's waiting on all the road infrastructure to be done, so it's all done in one go. Obviously, in the case of Calkins Road, you're gonna have to do that. And a lot of traffic management, obviously, as that's getting installed. So I think that'll be coordinated with Monroe County DOT on kind of their sequencing and how they want to see it built.
And
when
you
eventually-
guys don't have any building materials. I know that you brought the elevations, which I didn't see at all, but
The first time.
there you go. See, now we're talking. While you're doing that, I just have administrative. So with us viewing these and potentially putting in a motion, do we have to address that is not what is the current plan? That basically just that one driveway is not where it's supposed to be according to what they say.
I think there's lots of changes.
Yeah, that's, comment, by comment, so as long as
As long as they address that, we're good.
Comments.
And I know after all these years, I should probably know that, but for some reason, this was like,
These are the different sidings.
okay.
Forgive me on this. For me, that would be kind of the elevation.
Nice looking building.
Yeah, so can we pass it back and forth?
I like it. Yeah.
I'll pass it down to you guys. Okay, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski.
Go.
The chair will recognize Mr. List.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
When you were in the pre-design phase, did you ever consider having the apartment closer to the fronting the roads instead of setbacks? So instead of coming in and seeing encompassing a parking lot, we could see the building and then the parking would be on the inside. It's, to me, that would be more pleasing.
Yeah, and I guess in those layouts, because you've done those before too, where it's more of a street frontage, I guess, approach, where it's like buildings close to the road. You kind of run into the setback things with that. So I don't think it was just based on the limitations and kind of the way it's laid out. If you push the building there, you kind of get limited somewhat in parking just with the geometry, kind of mirroring the building with the parking is kind of a more efficient layout. Yeah, no initial plans for that. Just given kind of the setbacks and the site constraints. So
Just an idea I had. What's the breakdown in terms of apartments? So you got your 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. How many of each will you have?
that's a great question. I know it's majority twos, I believe, for the unit breakdowns that we have. Yeah,
It's majority 1 and 2 bedrooms. We have quite a few 1 bedroom, but there are some 3 bedrooms out there. No studios.
And is there a
I
certain
don't know the
number
exact
certain number that'll be ADA compliant?
adaptable.
yeah, there'll be some that are ADA compliant. Some of those, it's like if there's a request to make them, then they can be adjusted.
Given the RIT, proximity to RIT, will it meet something to accommodate the deaf population?
Exactly.
Do you ever think about a crosswalk at let's see, from Fair Avenue to Minerva, over across further to the east,
Like towards Wegmans and Doodlebugs and those there, or?
Right in, yeah, where there's not, it's not indicated on the site plan, but I think
Um,
that might be a good.
There's no sidewalk over there.
Yeah, it's only on the western
There's no
side,
sidewalk there?
No,
and then cross on Calkins, yeah.
Cause you can, kind of a dead zone there, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, as stated, there's no sidewalk there, so it's,
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. List.
Thank you.
And we'll take a little formal vote later, but Mr. Borkowski, your thoughts on the setback approval? You're good with that, Mr. List?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, the chair will recognize Mrs. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I read that it was going to be market value for rent. Can you tell me what the range would be for the rents?
Yes, currently, we've estimated the range from about 1800 to about 2800.
Okay, thank you. And also the garage, I noticed there's only, I think, 24 garage units. How are those assigned? Are they first come, first served, lottery?
First come, first serve.
And so they're not assigned specific units.
But no, they're not assigned to specific units, no.
So how do you do the first come, first serve? How is that? Is it?
As we're leasing, as they're leasing, if they take, because we're finding out about probably 40 or 50% will take the garages.
Right, right.
So it should be pretty close. And it is first come, first serve.
Okay. My other questions have already been addressed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. Mrs. Brill,
Clarification on that as far as first come, first serve. Forgive me, I was gonna say, don't go yet. First come, first serve at the time of the lease being signed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At first I was like, first come, first serve every day, they're gonna be fighting, so.
At the time of the lease.
Signed.
Yeah, we would assign them a unit or a
Okay.
garage.
Forgive me. That's what I thought, Marcy.
Right.
So so it's just, and I've rented where I had to wait. So if someone rents a unit and they have a garage and then they leave, is there a waiting list for who's next to get
Yes, we would. We would take if there is a waiting list, we would take a waiting list and call the next person in line.
the next person on the list want a garage become
Yes.
vacant? Okay.
Yeah, and Mike, there is an additional fee for that? Is there additional?
Right now, I
monthly
believe we
fee?
charge my daughter would know more, but I think we charge 100 a month.
That's reasonable.
do you want to rent a garage, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay,
But, that's probably less than from the storage facilities.
It is.
Chris is moving too.
Well, I'll be honest, this is one of the nicest apartment units, location wise that I've seen.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Especially for the firework.
Yeah, that's
oh, there you go.
It's on, I think also
for
like
the
if they're
town amenities.
sitting on the front there, seeing the 4th of July parade go down there
Yeah.
too on their balconies and stuff. It'll be a
Yeah.
nice location.
Mrs. Reynolds, are you all set?
I one
Okay.
just popped up. The rec center has a fee. Is there gonna be any type of working with the rec center to subsidize the fees if somebody wants to join that's living in those apartments or?
Well, we haven't gotten that far, to be honest with you. I'm not sure that's come up yet.
But if you're a town resident, it's like
That's a good
$5.
question.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. I know if you're for a certain age, it's free, but.
It's free over
I wasn't sure what the fee was for.
It's like
under
$5.
Is it $5? Oh, okay. I thought it was more than that. Never mind. Yeah.
That could be 50.
I think if they're paying $100 a park, then they can, that's $5 for the.
Well, $5 is $5. I'm sorry. That's all I had. Thank you.
And Mrs. Reynolds, your thoughts on the setback?
I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chair will recognize Mr. Franek.
Okay, great. So a number of us recently attended a Monroe County Planning Board where they were talking about making housing more accessible for a wide range of individuals, particularly those who are aging. So I just had, I saw that there were comments in the Monroe County Planning Board thing, but I just wanted to reiterate a couple of those. Will any of your first floor apartments be zero step entry?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right. And I know that Mr. List asked about ADA compliance, but I just wanted to place that as being wheelchair accessible, you know, with the wider doorways, particularly for bedrooms and restrooms and that sort of thing.
We need to, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. And then kind of stated before, a lot of them are adaptable where it may not be at the time, but if there's a request, someone's coming in, they're like, I have this, need for this. They're designed in a way that they can be adapted to.
Yes.
And then one was the hard of hearing, a lot of that's just adding the flashers to the apartments. Yeah, which we are adding for some, yeah.
Yes, yes, fantastic. I just, the doorway size is always kind of the bigger issue, and the other places the other things can be, like you said, be made, adaptable.
Yeah.
But the doorway size is something else. Electric charging stations. The world is kind of moving towards electric vehicles.
Well-
I know my daughter has one, and
We haven't talked about that yet, but the other day I was thinking about, we do need to put one or two of those in.
yeah, I think so. I'm just
think
seeing more and more on
today,
the road. Yeah,
You have to remember that.
I will remember.
you'll have to remember that. There you go.
I know it'll probably be a dual port charger. That's usually the standards where it's kind of in the middle between one of those spaces.
Yeah,
We sometimes bump the sidewalk out, so there's still ADA accessibility, and then
yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least as long as there's something. I know there's chargers over at the library, but
Mhm.
it's, there really should be
Yep.
something for the residents
I
there,
agree.
given the number of vehicles that I'm seeing out on the road these days. And busing and transportation. So, RTS is talking about, again, cutting back on their lines and that type of thing. I believe it helps the town of Henrietta, when new apartments are going in, if you can just reach out to RTS and let them know that even if it's not on the RTS line, if they can be on the little buses there that go out into the neighborhoods and things like that, if they can include you on demand. Thank you. The on-demand buses. I think the more that we begin asking RTS to provide services, the more services that we can hopefully get. And when we have those services, then people can use those services.
Yep.
If you do have RIT students, you may want to reach out to RIT as well, because I know they have the buses that take the students back and forth to RIT that go to a number of different places. My final question is the mixed use part of this. I just wanted to have a good understanding around that. So I see that there's a lot of recreational uses for residents that are there. Are there any other mixed uses that are going to be included with this parcel?
Saying like a business or something else.
Yes.
No, it'll just be the residential portion, and then those recreational spaces for them to use. There's no
Cafe,
cafes or
restaurants,
no, not at this time.
pharmacies, anything along those lines? No.
That was a part of the special use permit, was that northern parcel to eventually develop that into some commercial development, whether it be a restaurant. At this time, we don't know what it is. We included like a generic layout of a building with a parking lot for that.
Right, right. With Wegmans right there. Yeah.
We are trying to attract a restaurant for the 2-acre parcel in front here.
Okay.
And we think this will help. Finishing it off, the light going in, we think that'll complete everything, and we have had some interest.
Mhm.
We actually had a call last week. So
There's actually not a lot over there. It's not a bad location for a little
I think a
restaurant.
good location.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Franek. Okay, the chair will recognize Mrs. Brill.
Sorry to chime in again. And kudos, Millie, for remembering some of the things we learned at the training the other day, because I too was at that. And she brought up a good point about some of the additional amenities. One of the things that was brought up, it was mentioned that a gentleman was moving into the city of Rochester and he didn't have a vehicle. His primary mode of transportation was a bicycle wherever he went. And he only found one apartment in the entire city area that had internal bike locking storage. And I remember taking a note on that, and of course it eluded me until Millie brought that up again. But I thought that was a really interesting request. Internal bike storage locking, that type of thing. So just FYI, I thought that
Well,
was
we actually have one of our meetings tomorrow for more planning on the building, so I think that's a great suggestion.
awesome. Very good.
Especially if you have students that might want to ride to campus or
Sure.
something like that. Yeah.
See if we can get that out.
Well, so Mrs. Brill,
I am. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
to recognize Mr. Eckert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, quick question that came up. Is this gonna, knowing that you own the property to the south, is there any reciprocity to the pool there that the amenities could be used with this one, or are these gonna be two separate entities?
You wanna go swimming?
That's a good question. I've actually, my daughter runs the project behind, and I've asked her that. Well, I don't know. I said, well, it's the same owners. We haven't gotten that far
Yeah,
yet
okay, just
to figure out whether they can come here or they can go there. And she was hesitant on it, but I'm not sure. And she's worried about legally what, from one property to the other. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you're thinking about it, so I'm just wondering if there was anything about that. So, good, thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Mr.
District Tenant, I think it's a great idea. And you got
Yeah, there we go. We need to knock back there. No.
Yeah. You can install all your pool accessories and your
Ab-
floaties in your garage.
Okay. So before we vote on the application itself, I do want to get a formal vote for Heather on the setback note. So
Chairman?
yes, Mr. Young.
Yeah, so those items are within the resolution as written.
They are in there.
Yeah.
That we've all approved this.
I'm just gonna read it to you.
Okay.
As slightly revised based on the discussion that you've had. Right now, it talks about approving the site plan. Within that section on the resolved about approval, it says inclusive of approval. So I'm reading as revised today, this evening, I should say, inclusive of approval of the reduced setbacks per section 295-34.84 as follows. All in accord with the placement of the garage buildings as depicted on the plans. So in other words, you're allowing setbacks for those garage buildings as they are in the plans. And inclusive of it, the other thing this also references is the approval of the elevations of the buildings and structures provided as part of the application and presented at the June 17th planning board meetings, the elevations they just showed us. So that's those two things, as I just read, are now in that written resolution you have, if that's the way the board would like to handle it.
Okay. Well, I know Heather had asked me to get a formal vote on discussion items. So I think, can I just take a vote and then we can?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't I don't know that this is a discussion item. This is part of the application. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's
All right.
right in the resolution. Actually, I discussed it with Heather.
You did.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, very good then.
Just as long as, I think what the chairman is aiming for, that we're all comfortable with the setback, is that
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically that you're comfortable with those two garages where they are
Okay.
is how the resolution looks at it.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Young, anything else, sir, on the application or any other comments from your chair?
Now beyond what we have already submitted and talked about, if you do move the resolution, I would say move the resolution as written and revised this evening.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Now the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll to approve resolution for site plan application PB 25 and written and modified the paradigm.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Mr. List, thank you. Mr. Martin, any final comments from engineering?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm all set.
Thank you very much. Okay, discussion amongst the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
It's gonna be a nice project.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to reiterate, my microphone was off. I don't know if my voice was loud enough to hear.
Okay.
I don't want to get communicated, corrected by Heather as well.
So
So
you were,
I'm going to just go ahead and again, just state that I move to approve the resolution as written and modified by Mr. Young for PB 25, the Fair Avenue Housing
very
Project.
good. Thank you. And we had a 7-0
Thank you.
approval. Thank you, Mr. Eckert. Appreciate that. Okay. Next item, this is a discussion item. Starbucks, the planning board is to discuss approving a 6-month extension for application number 24-006 that was originally approved on June 18th, 2024. The project to be located at 1100 Jefferson Road in a commercial B1 zone district.
So you could get rid of me.
Hello, Joshua.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how much discussion on this, but we went to we actually had to get it reapproved at the town board level for the special use permits, getting that expired. So to avoid that, obviously put in the extension for this. I believe it's imminent. I believe they're submitting for building permit. It was just one of those, like, didn't know the timing of, I thought maybe it was gonna be in before that. I think it's becoming in almost imminently, like I said, for building permit, but just to avoid any issues, just wanted the extension just to get it to that point.
Yep.
But they're planning to start very soon on the project.
Very good. Okay, well, the chair will make a motion to approve the extension to this application number 24-006.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Borkowski. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing that started soon.
Can I ask Josh a question or is it too early?
Hey, Josh?
Josh, just
One
a quick
question,
question. 1100 Jefferson, is that going to be a new freestanding building or take
Yes, so it's kind of in the
behind Burger King?
in front of Berg, I guess behind technically,
Yeah.
in the parking lot
Yeah,
where,
got you.
yeah, it'll be kind of on the leftern or western side past the big lots that's in that plaza.
Oh,
So
that's right. I remember.
Remember we had
this one.
traffic,
Yes, yes,
concern with
yes.
traffic flow and all that stuff, and yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, Joshua, thank you. Okay, well, I've turned the floor over to Mr. Martin, who's gonna talk to us about Mosu Henrietta.
Yeah, so, many of you hopefully have received a packet. And I apologize for the lateness, but we just had a meeting with the applicant this morning. And this is the old Red Lobster site. So
Oh.
you've got Jefferson Road, north,
Nice.
this Marketplace Drive.
Oh, no.
So they want to take over the Red Lobster site, and this is going to be a Asian barbecue type food. So they are in a hurry to look at things, so they gave us this little packet. I talked to Heather about it, and we would like the board to take a look at the building house to see if you had any opinion or concern or anything else. And the other reason I'm doing this, quite honestly, somewhat selfish on Don's part, on my part, is we don't have any items in for the July planning board meeting. So if we can discuss it here, Don doesn't have to zoom in on his vacation and much needed vacation. And it gives the board a break in July. So we would like to, even though it's short notice, we would see what the planning board has any concern on this project.
I think it looks very fair.
Very good.
Chris, is this a national chain?
Yes, but this would be the second one in New York State.
Albany,
Second
right?
in New York State.
I think so, yeah. They said they have another one. I don't know where, but from what I've heard from other people.
I'll tell you what, I go there every month for work. I'm gonna seek that out.
So that they tell us it's very good food, but there's some from the owner. So again, this is-
Very attractive.
yeah, it's kind of very touched deadline. They had to get all their approvals by early August,
Wow.
which includes the building permit, which they haven't even finished the plan yet.
Well, in that location, I don't think they can mess around even if they wanted to, so.
No,
I mean, to have something good go in there, that's fantastic.
yeah.
I hate to see those restaurant buildings sitting out there. You just need,
As long as they don't put a drive-through in.
please.
So what are we doing? Are we looking for approval on what the elevations alone is? That it?
Yeah, so since this was it's a significant change to the building, we wanted the board to take a look at it, just give you
Just an elevation, building staying, not significant as far as
It's
just
not gonna
size.
come out.
I apologize. Craig, that's a great point is they're not going to tear down the building.
Ah,
There's a renovation of the existing building.
gotcha.
They're changing the front entrance from the north of the building to the east of or the west of the building, on the west side, which is a little unusual because it's not facing into Jefferson Road or Marketplace Drive, but they felt because of the kitchen location and everything else, there's better traffic flow. So again, they're gonna keep the existing building. The only thing they're gonna tear down is the front drive-through type thing, to create more room. But it's pretty much just, refurbish it to their brand. It's gonna be a land lease, so they don't own the building, or they don't own the land, but they'll own the building.
But perspective 2 is facing Jefferson Road, correct?
So say that again.
Exterior perspective 2 is facing Jefferson Road.
I think that's facing the south,
Yeah.
because the main entrance is to
Yeah,
the
this is
east.
the main entrance.
So it's perspective
Okay.
1 facing Jefferson Road?
You said the main entrance was west, right, Chris? Coming in?
Yes, the main entrance is on the west, so if you
West.
look at the packet here, like the vestibule, that is pointing towards the west. You can see a two curb cut. Well, it's hard to see on this, there's a site plan at the
No, there-
end of the packet.
Yeah, I'm just confused.
Yeah, there's
Okay, I got it.
I am right there with you, because that exterior signage, which you would think that would go onto Marketplace Drive,
Yeah.
shows the main entrance behind it, which would be the east facade.
So if you look at this is Marketplace Drive, there's two existing entrances. This is Jefferson Road. This is the main entrance, right?
This will be Jefferson over here.
There's a dumpster over in the
Marketplace.
back.
This is the main,
Yeah.
because this is looking at it from the west.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's tough without them labeling the elevations.
Yeah, they have the different perspectives, but they don't say which perspective is which. So I'm guessing the one on the front cover, that. I think that is a portion of the west elevation.
So exterior perspective 2 would be the north perspective, right?
Yeah.
That's what we'd see from Jefferson Road.
And right, if that's,
Exterior number 2 would be the view from Jefferson Road, right?
Well, so this is obviously on Jefferson Road, right? There.
Yes.
that's where I'm confused too.
Right, so that.
That shows the entrance behind it though.
It doesn't, it shows,
So perspective.
it shows, yeah, it does, it shows the thing that I was talking about.
Right,
Yeah, so perspective 2, that's the north building elevation, so that's what.
That's what Jefferson Road, okay.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
so there isn't a perspective from the east side.
Jefferson Road. Yeah, here.
No, I don't.
But it's not private entrances.
It doesn't appear.
And that's okay. Over here.
Then again, this was just whatever they provided. They are
So this
working
will be
on.
up at the corner of Jefferson and Marketplace Drive. That's the west, yes.
That makes no sense why they want to put that main entrance to the west. It's facing another building. But barring that, I guess that doesn't stop anything from construction. I want to see what's facing Marketplace Drive. The rest of these facades look great. I can't imagine they're gonna,
Market.
for lack of a better term, butt end that restaurant right towards Marketplace Drive.
And I can turn that guys look more when we get that.
Okay.
Which would be what the northern.
But like if you're, or not Marketplace, I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's facing.
Marketplace Drive.
Yeah.
Marketplace Drive.
Yeah, I like it, sure. I'm
Yes.
just glad that we asked that because it would have been weird to have the other elevation facing.
Yeah, I'm gonna want to see the eastern elevation. There is not currently a perspective of the east.
Yeah,
But let me ask you this question, overall, in what the board has seen. I'm not gonna say your approval, but you like what you see.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So yeah, as soon as we get the building elevations in, I will forward those to the board.
Okay.
They can't,
Their
You
other
use this?
is in
I think it has to do.
Is it
with the,
Albany?
County.
Albany, county?
Yep. 411, the rest are.
um No buffet lines, no flagging someone down. Order instantly from your own online tablet and it'll hit your table in minutes. Smell the barbecue, don't smell like a barbecue.
This,
Japanese barbecues with real flames and ceramic
Which is
charcoal
your-
that char grill your meat while leaving you and your clothes smoke free.
Very good.
And then if you're looking.
Okay, so we're all kind of in favor of this project as far as what we've seen so far. Yep,
This is.
okay.
Remember the good old days when the new restaurants used to have the soft opening and invite
Oh, yeah.
everyone to come? Yeah, they do.
Okay, a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have one point of discussion I'd like to make.
Yes, Mr. Eckert, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So this just kind of came up in the Winter Garden conversations. We talked about them kind of internally. So the back of these lots again for Winter Garden subdivision are going to be conservation easements. The town has a lot of problems enforcing those quote unquote easements. People just continue to mow, move into them, put sheds. They're not enforceable. We even came across with was Foxfield with the trees that were supposed to remain and half the people are just removing them. So I don't know, and maybe this is more of a question for Don, and we can just think about it. I mean, we approved Winter Garden preliminarily, so I'm assuming we'll see it in the final.
Correct.
So I'm wondering if we want to take a look at, putting restrictions.
We do. So we have, so Foxfield's a different matter.
Right.
We should have done it, and I'll take the.
I sit with you.
We should have put a conservation easement on those trees,
Okay,
and we did. But we do have on the grading plan that tree line is to remain, so we have a little bit of teeth, but not like it would if we had a conservation easement. Now, for, Winter Garden, and any other subdivision that we do that requires a conservation easement, we actually have an easement that the developer signs.
right.
And there are certain restrictions to what they can and cannot do. Whether we want to take another look at it and see, but again, it's not saying it's hard to enforce, but a lot of times we don't know about things until a neighbor
Right.
says about things or.
Queens Park one was probably the best example that I can go on for that too. A lot of those back lots are meant to be a conservation easement due to the development. And they're not conserved anymore. I mean, it's just, so I don't know if it makes a sense to communicate or to talk about a possible deed restriction. If we want that areas to remain, conserved and not just mowed down and, people's property. So that's why I'm just was throwing it out as a discussion before we come up to the meeting and I ask for something that nobody else wants to.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell people what to do with their property at that point. So
Correct.
that's a dicey one.
I
Yes,
think the developers need to do a better job as well, letting the people know when they move in, hey, this is the conservation easement, this is what you can do and not do.
that's where I think the conflict comes in. The developers show a full green lot and they sell the lot as your property, not showing that, I mean, even some of these have ponds on them and, they don't, they show the pond as like a picturesque lake frontage and they're charging extra, but it's weeds and,
Was it Queens Park one that we put little signs at the end of the yards, right?
yeah, and they pick them up and they move.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, we had to GPS the ones at Breeze Park and Berkshires. We had to actually go out and GPS and locate those.
Yeah, and there was a problem where a lot of people we had a lot of lots backed up to a town park. And people were encroaching into the park.
Yeah,
With sheds, buildings, trailers. So we went out and GPS the signs and they still picked them up and moved them. Thankfully, we GPS them so we can move them back. So I don't want to overstep the bounds of this board. I don't want to, and be big brother by any stretch, but if we're talking about these spaces being conserved, I'm not sure that that's what these spaces are really being.
And
So,
then if the developer does talk to the future homeowners prior to buying, when they sell it, does the conversation get lost?
they don't bring it up at all.
Exactly,
Exactly.
That, you would think that's true, but we hear from residents all the time that say, we never knew. There. Correct, well, that could be, you're right, but if it's, a deed restriction is also listed on the instrument survey?
No, it's in as well as the conservation.
Yeah, okay,
The conservation is on that estimate survey that's provided to.
yeah, so it may not even be needed, maybe we're doing the right thing, I'm just throwing it out there.
Sign-
Sounds like an enforcement challenge, yeah.
Signage with GPS and just do a regular check on it. And then, have someone go out there and pull it up and hammer it back in the wall.
Well, and it usually, again, as Chris says, it usually becomes too late. I mean, they've gone in, residents 2, 3, or 4 in a row will go in and just mow everything down. So that conserved space is just a lawn now. So what do you tell them to do? Put back weeds?
So how often are we checking the GPS location of things that are that important?
We haven't been out in a year to Breeze Park with the ones that were GPS. When I went out recently, because there was still another issue, I noticed that they had been moved, and I don't know if we've been out to relocate them again.
So what would it be possible when we have developers and things like that, where there's supposed to be a conserved space or something along those lines, would it be possible to have them put in something that was, I don't know, some sort of like a decorative hedge, let's say lilac bushes or something along those lines, because you can't mow that over, that's gonna be
Yeah, I mean.
there.
Sometimes with wetland buffers, we have one subdivision that use the fence. And that, a pretty good deterrent.
Yep.
But, sometimes you get to the cost factor too. And not that, I don't know how to say this, but basically home prices are just so expensive now.
Right.
And, we're trying to work with the developers to make it more affordable.
Right.
Instead of, of course, a lot of it does go for profit for them, but we think for the most part, it's a tough one. Like I said, fences can certainly do it. But again, it's the cost associated. A lot of people don't want a fence in their either.
I guess that's why I was kind of thinking something along the lines of vegetation that is kind of a good, strong visual barrier that can't be mowed over. But,
Well, even I think in getting back to Queens Park, I think we had them put in some trees and things like that. Now they're probably no bigger than my thumb, but I don't know how much any of those made it.
Yeah.
Well, no, in Queens Park, for that point, I don't think they've ever, in a sense, given us a landscape guarantee, so we never went out and did a 3-year check. So we've done an inspection and found out what was dead and what was alive, but those projects sometimes sit in quandary.
I remember a homeowner that backed up to River Road in the Riverton area, and they had the berm all along there, kind of near the railroad.
It was on Sweet Pea or right in there, but that wasn't Riverton, so that was his property.
Yeah,
And we had the berm in there.
Yep.
And he took it down.
He took it down. He took it out. And yeah.
Yeah, I think we went around and around on that one.
Well, and that was really, we put the berm in and it was his property. So I think we ultimately decided, right, that we can't keep it from taking that away.
For the planning board to request.
Yes, he did.
Back.
He did. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Mr. Eckert, well, thank you for bringing that up. Don't know that we accomplished anything with that, but
No, just a thought process. If nothing happens
Yeah.
from it, that's fine too. Just want to
Maybe,
kind of let everybody know what we're coming up with as issues as these things
we
are
learned
developed
from
down the road.
GPS on the signage, which I think is a great.
You were there.
yeah, if you want me to, I can send the board a copy of our agreement for these conservation easements. And if you want to take a look at them and make some suggestions for the August meeting.
sure.
Okay.
All right, so we're off in July.
Yep.
Good. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
7:00.